Uh-oh.
Lastly, Bob, just an update on the talks between Top Rank and PBC. Have you actually spoken to Al Haymon as recently?
No, I haven't spoken to Al in a long time, but he has an able spokesperson in the Cubas, and so Carl and some of our other guys talk to the Cubas. I guess that's the way Al wants it, and so that's the level of communication.
Do Samson, who's in that sphere, the PBC
Right.
sphere, said De Los Santos and Keyshawn may very well be next. You have an update on that?
I think so. I think I was talking to Keyshawn in the office yesterday, and he mentioned that kid's name.
Yeah. Do we have a rough outline for a date? What time of the year it should be?
I know Keyshawn's next fight is going to be in Norfolk in June.
Okay.
Early June.
Few interesting nuggets in there from the Bob father. Sean Zitale recently caught up with him. More on the proposed Keyshawn Davis versus Edwin De Los Santos fight. Edwin De Los Santos, who achieved notoriety by both beating Rayo Valenzuela and making Shakur Stevenson look bad in a stinker.
His aggressiveness, his power was enough to keep Shakur Stevenson on the run for all of 36 minutes while being booed by the boxing community at large.
And now he may be facing Keyshawn Davis in Norfolk, where Keyshawn sold over 10,000 tickets in his previous outing. I think he will get a similar reception in his next one because when he was there, he won in spectacular fashion. How you win is just as important.
It's not just winning. How you win is just as important as the victory itself.
Interesting nuggets from the Bob father is that Louis DeCubas is acting as Al Haymon's mouthpiece these days. The last year and a half or so, there have been widespread rumors about Al Haymon's overall health and how he's holding up these days.
I heard that Louis DeCubas is acting on his behalf.
Which the Bob father is basically confirming here in this sit-down interview with Sean Zitale. A lot of the established entities within the boxing sphere are getting up there in age, in case you haven't noticed. Not just the Bob father, not just Bob who's in his 90s, but Al Haymon as well.
He's not a young guy. Neither is Frank Warren.
Eddie Hearn, even though he's younger than they are, overall, he's not a young guy either.
Take care of yourselves out there.
Keyshawn Davis versus Edwin De Los Santos is a decent little fight on paper. The only caveat is that it's been over a year since Edwin De Los Santos had a fight. So if he goes in there and gets annihilated by Keyshawn Davis, Keyshawn's detractors will likely use that against him, lean on that he was fighting a guy who hadn't fought in a while, but that's hardly Keyshawn Davis's fault.
That falls more on Samson Lukowicz. That's the guy that handles Edwin's career, that you didn't get that guy a tune-up fight, a little keep busy fight, en route to a fight like this one.
It's not like Samson Lukowicz's fighters haven't been fighting, because they have. You could have got Edwin a slot on the undercard of David Benavidez's fight with David Morrell, or a slot on the undercard of Sebastian Fundora's fight with Cordell Booker, that the responsibility to keep Edwin De Los Santos busy doesn't fall on Keyshawn, doesn't fall on Top Rank, it falls on Samson.
So that when a fight like this one rolls around, you're ready. You know the cliche, the old saying goes, you stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
And we've been all through that. I like Keyshawn Davis to win the fight and win the fight by way of knockout. Being honest, even if Edwin De Los Santos were a bit more active within the last calendar year, I still would have picked Keyshawn Davis to knock him out.
Now we'll just do it faster.
I think Keyshawn Davis has greater potential to become a household name because of how he fights and how he wins, as opposed to how his buddy Shakur fights, and as opposed to how his buddy Shakur wins. Keyshawn Davis is a more fan-friendly fighter with a fan-friendly style that is easier for a casual audience to digest.
Than what you see from Shakur.
It's not to say Shakur isn't a great boxer in his own right, in his own way, because he is, but that doesn't make him entertaining. And you can't forget that this is the entertainment business.
Your ability to entertain an audience is the difference between making a lot of money and not making a lot of money.
Keyshawn Davis's performances against both Gustavo Lemos and Denis Beranchyk for the WBO title in his last fight were thoroughly entertaining performances.
And I expect him to shell out another one against Edwin De Los Santos if and when the time comes.
Prime for prime, who would have won, Crawford or Mayweather? Prime for prime.
Crawford.
Really? Why? Just
Because Crawford is a unique kind of fighter that other fighters haven't seen. And the ability that he has to switch, fighters aren't used to that. They don't train for that. I just think Crawford is a very, very unique talent.
it says a lot about him. He took you to the courtroom and you're still saying he beats Canelo and Mayweather. It says a lot about him.
Well, yeah, I mean,
we tried to take you to the courtroom.
that has nothing to do with his ability as a fighter.
Yeah.
Maybe his ability as a litigator, I can say things, but as a fighter, he's a unique, superior guy.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks for all your time.
I've expressed a similar sentiment here on this channel, but my answer is a bit more layered than Bob's. If the fight were at 135, I would go with Floyd Mayweather over Terence Crawford because at that weight, Floyd was already more developed than Terence was when he campaigned at that weight. Whereas at 140, it's a more even contest. It's a bit more even, but I would go with Terence Crawford to win at 140, and I would definitely go with Terence to win at 147.
By the time that Floyd Mayweather got to 147 pounds, his output had greatly diminished. He was having hand issues.
Not to say that he wasn't elite anymore. We all know that he was at 147 and 154, but he was a different fighter at those weights than what he was at 130 and 135 when he was fast and ferocious. And he actually went for the knockout as opposed to the points fighting we saw at 147 and 154.
Whereas at 147, Terence was a ferocious puncher. His entire welterweight campaign, he knocked out every welterweight they put in front of him.
Unbeaten Jose Benavidez, unbeaten Igis Kavaliauskas, an unbeaten champion in Jeff Horn, another unbeaten champion in Errol Spence Jr. He knocked out Sean Porter, who had never been knocked out. Sean, who's been in there with everybody.
The only guy who can say that he stopped Sean Porter is Terence Crawford, who forced a corner stoppage after dropping Sean not once, but twice. I think at 147, Terence proved to be a bigger puncher than Floyd Mayweather was.
They're both fast. They're both athletic. I think one of the only guys off the top of my head who could match Floyd Mayweather in terms of athleticism would be Terence Crawford. But Terence has, at 147, what Floyd didn't have, and that was punching power.
Not just speed and sharpness and a good boxing brain, good ring IQ. He actually had power. Power in both hands from out of both the orthodox and southpaw stances. You didn't see a lot of switch hitters in Floyd's era.
It's normalized now. You see it all the time. But in Floyd's era, you didn't see a lot of guys who could switch from orthodox back to southpaw, back to orthodox to give a guy different looks and come at him from different angles. That would be an edge that Terence also has.
I would pick Terence to beat Floyd Mayweather at 147 and 154.
Didn't Floyd beat Canelo Alvarez at 154?
Yes, he did. But if you compare the version of Canelo Alvarez that he fought at that weight to Terence Crawford, Canelo was a lot less experienced as a fighter at that weight. than Terrence.
By the time Terrence Crawford moved up to junior middle, he was already a 3-time lineal, 3-time Ring Magazine, 2-time undisputed champion. Things that Canelo Alvarez was not at the time that he fought Floyd Mayweather.
The short answer is the Canelo that Floyd fought at junior middle was a lot greener than Terrence Crawford at junior middle.
Oh, he was greener. For God's sake, the guy was 23 years old.
Greener than Terrence.
So I would go with Terrence Crawford to beat Floyd Mayweather at 147 and junior middle in a time machine as if one existed. It's a topic of some discussion, some debate.
Though ultimately it's a fight that only exists in our imaginations.
Whereas Terrence's upcoming fight with Canelo Alvarez is not a fantasy fight. It's not a figment of our imagination. And I've noticed that ever since he decided to go after Canelo Alvarez,
Canelo's fans have decided to go after him, tearing him down and trashing his resume. They're in their tits about it.
let's not pretend. They didn't have a hissy fit when Edgar Berlanga fought Canelo or Jaime Munguia fought Canelo, when John Ryder fought Canelo. They didn't have a problem with any of that. But I notice they have a problem with this. All of a sudden, they have a problem with Terrence.
Before it was just the Spence fans tearing him down. Now it's the jilted Spence fans that are angry Terrence won, and it's Canelo's fans.
You guys are scared. I don't give a damn what you say. The way you guys have been acting, you guys are scared. That's not saying Canelo is scared. Canelo ain't got nothing to be afraid of. But you guys are scared he's gonna lose.
You're intimidated by Terrence Crawford, and that's why whenever he's mentioned in a video, I always get a couple of guys that start trashing him. Hell, there are videos I've uploaded that have nothing to do with Terrence and nothing to do with Canelo, and I'll still get guys bringing him up for no other reason than they know I'm a fan of Terrence Crawford. But I'm also a fan of Canelo, so what are you moaning about?
Terrence Crawford hate is at an all-time high. It's even higher than it was in the buildup of the Spence fight, because now you've got both Spence fans and Canelo fans trashing him, and I think they do it out of fear. For the same reason the Spence fans did it, that's why the Canelo fans are doing it now.
Bitches.
Pussies. That's not to say Canelo's a pussy or Canelo's a bitch. I don't think Canelo has anything to be afraid of. I actually think he's gonna win the fight. But the way you guys are acting...
Stop acting like a bitch.
You didn't have a problem with Canelo fighting Jermell Charlo from 154, so why do you have a problem with him fighting Terrence Crawford from 154?
Because you didn't think none of those guys could win. That's why you didn't have a problem with those fights. Underneath it all, you're scared.
You're acting different with this fight because you're scared that Terrence Crawford can win. Terrence Crawford, who's been nothing but respectful towards Canelo Alvarez, saying that he is one of the greats, and that's why he wants to fight him.
What's your problem?
Gonna act like a little bitch about it?
Culero.
Yeah, I'm a Canelo Alvarez fan, make no mistake. I have been for some time now. Anybody could tell you that. But I'm not a fanboy. I can't stand anybody's fanboys, Canelo's included.
Culero.
You want to have sex with him? He doesn't need you to be his bodyguard. He doesn't need you to protect him. Kind of sissy-ass boxing fans are these, getting mad that one boxer wants to box another. I thought that's what we were here for.
The Benavidez fight ain't happening, so this is the next best thing. What is your problem?
Boxing fans are the absolute waste. I say it all the time. In all of organized sports, nobody's fans are as dumb as boxing fans.
Is weird.
Relax, Toots. Canelo Alvarez is a big boy. He can take care of himself without you being overprotective.
Richard, do you feel like with tonight's performance you made people believers?
I wanted to do it a little more decisively because I feel like there was a couple times where I nailed them, boom, and I didn't follow up. I want to go, bah, 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 and I should have let my punches go a little more. My dad was telling me I got to touch a little more, and I saw the hook, man. I saw the backhand, I saw the body shot, and I was starting to load up a little bit more. But again, Guido, he was proven, you know, on his comebacks, everyone was saying how great he was. He beat Makhmudov. He got really close out with the FA. He was on a roll, man. So like I think if it didn't, I think I proved something. Yes.
You know, it's not common for a fighter to be a half foot taller and be walking into the hook. You walked him into the hook sometimes.
Yeah. Shout out Coach Billy. You know, Coach Billy and my dad over there. We were working on that punch a lot. It's just I got to that backhand afterwards now. I had to throw a little more combinations. I was trying to do those one-hander quitters, and against those guys that are that big and that vetted, it's not going to work. But, we landed some great shots. We landed some great body shots, and I think we did show that we're meant to be in this heavyweight division a little bit. So,
in spite of a few boo birds that I noticed in the comments section of my video after the fight, I myself thought Richard Torrez did fairly well, and context is key that he was only 12-0 going in. Less experienced than Efe Ajagba was when he fought Guido, less experienced than Makhmudov was when he fought Guido.
Richard won a decisive victory in what was a chippy fight, competitive in spots, but there's no question that Richard won the fight. He took some lumps, but what do you expect? It's a boxing match.
Most other guys, you don't see a Guido Vianello on their resume until maybe after 15 fights, sometimes after 20. Richard fought him at 12-0.
What's the expectation here?
I think that there are things that need working on. Of course there are, but the guy's 12-0, so that should be obvious. I think that at minimum,
He can win a belt.
Richard Torrez can win an alphabet title in the current landscape based on what's going on, because it's not going to be Usyk that he has to come up against. That entire crop of heavyweights is on their way out. Usyk, Anthony, Fury, Wilder.
Those guys are on their way out.
So here's an example. If Richard Torrez were opposite the ring, the winner of Hunter versus Pulev, I would give him decent odds in that fight against either Michael Hunter or Kubrat Pulev.
Think you can. I think you could give him decent odds against Fabio Wortley. Not now, because they're not fighting now. You gotta think 3 to 4 fights from now.
The stiffer tests in the form of Joseph Parker and Agit Kabayel, those are difficult and dangerous fights that Richard might lose. I acknowledge that. But it's the heavyweight division. You're always one punch away from being knocked out, and that doesn't just apply to Richard, that applies to them too. This is a heavy-handed fighter with power in both hands who fights out of the southpaw stance. Hunkers down, makes himself a very small target, and throws hard punches over the top.
I see a champion in Richard.
I don't know about an undisputed champion. I don't know about that. That's a lot harder to attain. But I do think he can win a belt. Well, sometimes what it is with the harsh critics is they already made up their mind. So you're not actually having a discussion with them. It's not actually up for debate. And every step thereafter is just them looking for confirmation of what they already thought.
What I think? This kid can win a belt. I see a champion in Richard Torrez. 3 to 5 fights from now, he can win a belt.
There are some guys out there, I think, they can beat Richard Torrez. But there are some guys out there, I think, Richard Torrez can beat. He can beat them.
He's got something, this kid. And there's obviously more work needs doing, but I didn't expect him to take over the world or take over the division after only 13 fights.
Now, what I would like to see from Richard moving forward is a bit more control and a bit more punch-picking mid-range to inside, because he gets so frenzied once he's within striking distance, it's not as coordinated as it could be.
Just a little bit more space between you and the other guy. A smidge. Enough that you're not smothering your own work, and he's not smothering it either. That's what I would like to see from Richard moving forward, but so far, so good, because he did a good job of pinning down a moving target and getting hard punches off.
I didn't expect Saturday's fight to be easy. Did you guys? I mean, all the guys I've seen in there with Guido have struggled. All of them.
I didn't expect it to be no different for Richard. The difference is, he fought this guy when he was only 12-0. What do you expect?
You want he should punch this guy's head clean off his shoulders as soon as the opening bell sounds? This is not a video game.